people. I can't see who the 3 people are. So Facebook changed how they do live videos. So now I'm trying to understand it all. So 4 people. But why can't I see who the 4 people are? Oh. Brandon's here. You're going to be my first question. Aren't you excited? All right. We got 3 people on. I'm going to give it a little bit longer. If anyone who is on live now wants to pop in a question, go ahead and do that. And I will get to the question soon. See, Brandon, the answer is that you don't do the mobility work. All right, guys. So while we're here, thank you to all of our new members who have hopped on with us over the last 3 days. Got a bunch of new people. We have a lot of new runners who have joined the group, so I'm super excited to have them here. And yeah. So, all right. So let's get started. We're going to start with Brandon's question, which is, why is my mobility never getting better? So, there's a couple reasons why, if you feel like you're doing constant mobility work, that it's not improving. One could be that either you're doing it wrong or you're not doing it consistently enough. It also depends on what you're doing for mobility work. So as much as it's important to do something, it's also important to make sure we're doing the right things for our body and what we need. So a lot of times it takes someone else to kind of tell us what part of our body we need work on. And sometimes it's not necessarily the area that you think it is. So I've seen a lot of people who come in to see me with shoulder pain or something like that, and it's actually coming from their neck or their back. And once we can improve the mobility in their neck and their back, they see a big improvement in their shoulder. A lot of times too, especially lower body wise. Sorry, I keep shaking the screen. I gotta stop grabbing the table I'm using. A lot of times, especially in the lower body, I'll see someone who comes in with they're constantly getting ankle pain or calf pain or shin splints. And what that's really coming from is some weakness somewhere that we need to actually address, as opposed to tightness. So I feel like I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but sometimes lack of mobility or feeling the lack of mobility is actually coming from a muscle that is weak. So that can be something that's contributing to your lack of mobility. But overall, everyone should really try their best to do a mobility practice, whether that's every day or a couple times a week. I like to promote the FRC method. Obviously, that's what I do a lot of. But so for that, what we recommend is that every day you're doing a mobility warm-up to start your day. So we call it the morning routine, and it's going through full body cars in one day. I don't think I've ever posted that in this group. Actually, our first mobility class that I did pre-quarantine on here, we did go through full body cars. So go ahead, and if you want to add something to your day, you feel like you're missing something, go ahead and check out that first video that we did. I went through full body cars, which are our controlled articular rotations. So it's just the basic movement flow through each of our joints. And we went through that week 1, and that's a great way to start any mobility practice, is just to work on those very basics and take your body through what it wants to do for full range of motion. every day. And that's not necessarily going to make drastic improvements in your mobility, but it is going to make you more aware of where you need to work on your mobility. So hopefully that answered your question a little bit, Brandon. I know part of you have a lot of trouble with your shoulders and your back and your legs. So, but yeah, no. And I mean, we've worked on it before. You know, a lot of the stuff you have to do. A lot of getting better at mobility is consistency, making sure you're doing the right things for the part of your body that you need to work. But most importantly, consistency. If we're not training the part of our body that needs work every day, it's not going to get better. That's unfortunately, mobility takes a lot of work, and that's what we really have to do is be training it every day. And mobility is training. Our exercise, our running, our CrossFit, our whatever we're doing is important to train every day, but it is equally as important to spend time on our mobility every day. So making sure that we're getting in the reps of the mobility work. If you want to get good at back squatting, you got to keep back squatting. If you want to have good hip mobility, you have to keep practicing your hip mobility. So, all right. Question number 2. Bad plantar fasciitis. What stretching can we do? You tried PiYo, and that seemed to make it worse. So how do we get it to feel better? A couple of things. So reasons, let's kind of, there's a lot of parts of that question we're going to kind of dig apart. 1, plantar fasciitis. Why does it happen? Where does it come from? That kind of stuff. So I don't know your personal case, but a lot of times when I see plantar fasciitis, it's either people who stand a lot for work, or people who wear heels or very like tight restricting shoes a lot and are on their feet a lot. I will definitely see it in my runners a lot. So usually it comes from some type of lifestyle factor that then whatever that lifestyle factor is, that's causing the shortening of the tissues in the bottom of our feet. We then take that and we go do something, whether that's hiking or running. Usually it's hiking and running and lots of walking or something along those lines. And we put it in a shoe, or we're using the bottom of our foot. So when we're running, we use something called a windlass effect. So the bottom of our foot has all the fascia and the tendons that run. When we run and we get into our push-off phase, our big toe extends, which creates a stretch reflex, which helps us push off to bound forward. So every time we're running, if we have tightness for whatever reason, whether it's that you wear heels to work, whether it's that your shoes are restricting, just you're naturally prone to having a tighter bottom of your foot, when we repeatedly are stretching that through the windlass effect, which we need for running, it's an important thing. But when we're constantly doing that to the fascia on the bottom, as well as the muscles on the bottom, we develop more shortening, and we develop irritation. And there's a lot of other things that can complicate this. Tightness in the calf can complicate it. Shortened Achilles can complicate it. A lot of people end up with bone spurs and that kind of stuff. Sometimes bone spurs cause plantar fasciitis. Sometimes plantar fasciitis causes bone spurs. So regardless, that is kind of where that all comes from. And then we end up with irritation on the bottom of our foot. Okay, so that irritation on the bottom of our foot is typically worse when we have plantar fasciitis first thing in the morning. So probably the first time you step on your foot in the morning is when you really feel it. Same with if you go from being really inactive or staying with that foot in a stagnant position for a long period of time at work, and then you go out for a run. That's when you're going to feel it. Or it could be delayed onset after the run. But definitely most people feel that plantar fasciitis pain first thing in the morning, because when we sleep, it's hard to do without showing you my foot. But So we sleep with our toes kind of pointed down. The weight of the blanket sits on our feet. So we're sleeping with our toes pointed down. So that bottom part of our foot is shortened overnight. When we go to stand up, we're stretching it out. So we're stretching our calf. It's the first time our foot has been dorsiflexed in however many hours of sleep you're getting. So if you're trying to get in a healthy amount of sleep, so like 8 hours, even you're getting 7 hours, you've now slept with your foot in one position for 7 hours, and then all of a sudden you want it to do the very opposite. That's when we get that like pain when you first step on it first thing in the morning. Okay. So to kind of get back to your question, because that was a little bit of a sidetracking. Bad plantar fasciitis, stretching is supposed to work in theory if it's not working. A program like PiYo, nothing against PiYo, I think it's a great program for some people, but it's not necessarily targeting your plantar fasciitis. It's generalized Pilates kind of yoga mix, which is a lot of strengthening, it's a lot of stretching, but it's a very active kind of movement. And so when you're doing that, it's not necessarily providing the direct mobility or stretching that you need to your lower body specific for your plantar fasciitis. It's doing a lot of things that will help with other parts of your body. It will definitely improve your mobility. It'll definitely improve your core strength. PiYo, I did one PiYo class. And I am pretty athletic. I think I'm pretty athletic. I CrossFit, I Olympic weightlift, I run. PiYo like kicked my butt. Like it is not an easy class. However, it's going to do great things for your core. It's not going to help your plantar fasciitis. So what can we do to help your plantar fasciitis? A couple different things. Quick things that like I'm just going to generally say to everyone who has plantar fasciitis, because I know there are tons of people who have it, and a lot of people don't think it's something that like necessarily physical therapy can fix. Just, oh, I have plantar fasciitis, it's never going to go away. Or a lot of foot, like shin splints. Everyone is like, oh, I have shin splints, it's fine, they're never going to go away. No, that's not good. No, they will go away. But so quick tips for anyone who has plantar fasciitis. Okay. 1, take a water bottle, freeze it, plastic water bottle, Poland Springs, whatever you got, freeze it, and use it like a foam roller on the bottom of your foot. Okay. So what that's going to do is provide that ice, so help reduce inflammation, as well as get some soft tissue work in on the bottom of your foot. It feels good. It'll hurt the first couple times you do it, and it'll be slightly uncomfortable, but it really does feel good. And it's going to help your symptoms a lot. So frozen water bottle. I've talked to people who use frozen golf balls. Sometimes that's really helpful. So yeah, anything like that. My husband just handed me this little guy. This is the devil for plantar fasciitis, but it feels great later, not at the time. It's got little spikes on it. I use this a lot just in general to prevent plantar fasciitis. If I know that my foot's feeling a little tight or something like that, I'll roll on a lacrosse ball a lot, just kind of standing it. The other thing that you can do with the frozen water bottle, with the golf ball, with my little spiky tool here, is move your foot on top of it. So you're going to put it underneath your foot, put some compression down, and then wiggle your toes. So what that's going to do is take those muscles deep inside your foot, and they're going to be actively moving through the fascia. Okay, so the fascia surrounds muscles on the bottom of your foot. It's like separate from the muscles, but the muscles glide back and forth over it. So sometimes when we have a ton of inflammation and things are growing, muscles are growing all the time, the fascia gets a little bit stuck on the muscle. So if we can move our muscle on top of pressure, that's going to help release some of those adhesions and help the muscle and the fascia glide a little bit better, which can sometimes help our plantar fasciitis symptoms. Okay. So those are 2 things. The next that I want you to do for your plantar fasciitis pain is actually strengthen your calf. I know it sounds contradictory. because a lot of people feel that a tight calf muscle contributes to their plantar fasciitis, and it does. But strengthening the calf muscle, mostly eccentrically, is going to improve your plantar fasciitis symptoms. Okay, so what happens when we're running specifically? We need to control it a ton through our calves. And a lot of runners don't have the calf strength that's necessary to safely run. So we take a lot of load through our lower body when we're running, and we take a lot of load through our lower body when we're jumping. So if you have plantar fasciitis and you're jumping a lot, whether that's doing box jumps, double unders, those kind of things, though, you're also going to be super affected by how much calf strength you have. So our ability to push off the ground with our calf is going to affect our plantar fascia symptoms. Okay, so what you can do, it's not a great way to show this, but I know I have videos of it somewhere on my Instagram. But what I want you to do is an eccentric heel raise. So what you're going to do is you're going to go both up on both toes. You're going to pick one foot up, and then you're going to slowly lower down with your other foot. Okay, so 2 feet up, pick one foot up, slowly lower your body back down. So what that's doing is slowly lengthening our calf, but controlling the lengthening of our calf muscle. Okay, and that's important because it's going to help develop control for our landing mechanics when we're running, when we're jumping, everything like that. Because a lot of times the plantar fascia will absorb those landing mechanics when our calf isn't strong enough to do that. Okay? So those are just kind of 3 things that you can do for your plantar fascia pain, plantar fasciitis. Quickly off the top of my head, just kind of 3 things that I give everyone. Also, if you can sleep, ideally, without pointing your toes down. It's very difficult. It's not a comfortable position to sleep in, but that's why they have, you'll see like the plantar fasciitis boots that they give people, where it essentially pulls your foot into dorsiflexion while you're sleeping so you can't point your toe. And that prolonged kind of lengthening and positioning over time is definitely going to help. It's not, I mean, the boots are helpful when nothing else works. Okay. So I don't necessarily recommend it right away. Try some of the other things first, but definitely that sleeping with your toes pointed all night long, it's going to make your symptoms worse. And that's why when you stand on that foot first thing in the morning, that's what you feel. Okay. So, yeah. Let me make sure I'm getting.
If you're at a stopping point, I think your Instagram live went down.
Right down on the foot, peroneal tendonitis. Any thoughts on that? So peroneal tendonitis and Achilles. So the next question was on stretches for Achilles tendonitis. So peroneal tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, all those foot itises, they are brutal. They're uncomfortable. So similar things to plantar fasciitis for peroneal tendonitis. That calf strength is so important. Balance on one leg, calf strength on one leg. I did a post, I think, the other day on some exercises for runners, because a lot in our running gait cycle, okay, we spend the entirety of the running gait cycle either on one leg or airborne. Okay, there is 0 point when we are running where both feet are on the ground, which means that if you can't balance on one leg, then how are you running? That's an honest. I know it's brutal, but if you can't stand on one leg comfortably, then how is our body tolerating running? Okay, so the first thing I tell anyone who has tons of lower extremity problems is, especially if they're runners, especially if they're CrossFitters, is how much time are you spending practicing balance on one leg? Because it is so important. Okay, so all of those tendinitises and everything in the lower extremity come from our lack of strength. So some of it is tightness, some of it is lack of range of motion, but for the most part, a lot of it comes from weakness in our lower body. Okay, so things to practice: standing on one leg, doing single leg heel raises, doing those eccentric heel raises. Those are all super helpful for improving the strength in your calves that are necessary for running, jumping, landing. I've seen people hop off a pull-up rig and totally destroy their ankles because their calves are not prepared to take that load. I've seen people jump off a box, pop Achilles, because their lower extremity is not prepared to take that load. We can prepare our lower extremities to take that load by practicing single leg balance and single leg strengthening. And I know I'm supposed to be talking about mobility and stuff here, but the lower body fully comes down to balance on one leg, 100%. I am very strongly feel that. So, but some other things that mobility-wise you can do for peroneal tendonitis and calf tendonitis and Achilles tendonitis, all of those very uncomfortable lower extremity issues, is so similar to the plantar fascia, this lovely little guy. What I like to do is, so your peroneal is on the medial side, so the middle side of your calf, kind of down towards the bottom near the Achilles is where you're going to get most of your tenderness. Or no, that's not your peroneals. Oh my God, what am I talking about? Peroneals are on the outside. That's your anterior tib. And posterior tib. Anyway, it's late. It's late on a Sunday night, guys. Peroneal tendonitis on the outside. Still, it still comes down to landing mechanics. Everything below the knee comes down to landing mechanics. But peroneal tendonitis, so on the outside of your leg, you're going to take this little guy. You're going to lay on him on the outside. And what I want you to do specifically for peroneal tendonitis is invert and evert your foot, which means twisting your foot in and twisting your foot out. Okay, so if this is my forearm is my leg, my peroneals are out here, I'm going to kind of lay on them a little bit, and I'm going to rotate my foot in and out. Okay, then I'm going to kind of move the ball around, find out somewhere where it's tender. I like to kind of roll back and forth over the area, find a tender spot, put this little guy there, then move my foot. Because what that's doing, again, like when we're in the foot, is it's moving all of those muscles over the fascia. Okay, so we're getting good control and we're loosening up the adhesions between the fascia and the muscle and getting things to glide better. And that's going to just help with some of the inflammation, help with some of the healing, give tissues some new chances and opportunities to heal, increase blood flow to the area to give things the opportunity to heal. You could also, I like to have people a lot of times, especially with Achilles tendonitis, gastric tendonitis, posterior tib tendonitis, same thing, find a tender spot and spell the alphabet with your ankle. Not with your toes, very different, with your whole ankle. That's going to take you through all of the motion of your ankle and really kind of driving into those trigger points or tender points and help with a lot of soft tissue stuff there. Okay. So my last question was stretches for Achilles tendonitis. So, like we've been talking about, this stuff is great. Stretches wise, I'm not a huge fan of stretching kind of the calves and stuff. You can do it. You can do a gastric stretch up against a wall. You can do soleus stretch up against a wall. But maybe tomorrow's mobility class, maybe I'll focus because I've gotten a bunch of questions on the Achilles and the foot and stuff today. So tomorrow's mobility class, tomorrow night, I'm going to do a huge lower body focus. Okay, so we're going to do a lot of ankle, knee, and stuff. So the knee also is very connected to the ankle and our ability to rotate the tibia. So we'll do some stuff focused on that. We'll do some stuff for the ankle, So if you're looking for stretches for the ankles, for the calves, tomorrow night, 7:15 p.m., I do my mobility class every Monday for free. So hop on then, and I will focus a ton on the ankle in that class. Because that'll be good, I think, for a lot of people, because I know a lot of people are getting out running a lot more because we're all have to be in our houses. So running's really easy to get out there and do right now when we don't have gym equipment. So yeah. All right, guys. Ooh. Getting messages. Okay. Does anyone else on here have any questions tonight? Thank you guys for watching. Sorry I had some technical difficulties in the beginning. But I think it all came around. I'm going to do my best to keep doing more of these just because I think it's a good opportunity for people to hear from me and different things that we can work on while we are all home, and get me in front of people a little bit more so that you guys can ask me your pressing questions, because just here to help while we all can't leave our homes. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you to all of our new group members. I'm really excited to have you guys here. Tomorrow night, 7:15 p.m., I'm going to focus on the ankle, ankle/knee. And yeah, thanks, guys.